Hello, and welcome to Australian Citizenship class on YouTube.
Today we're at the airport. In episode 7, we'll be traveling around Australia, having a look at Australia's states and territories. We'll learn about the capital cities and some of the famous places in each region of the country.
Okay, are you ready?
Buckle up and let's go. Today's episode is taken from part 1 of Australian Citizenship, Our Common Bond. We're going to have a look at Australia's states and territories on pages 10 and 11. The Commonwealth of Australia is a federation of states and territories. Do you remember the word federation? We learned about federation in episode 5, The Nation of Australia at Federation. Federation is when a group of organizations, countries, or regions join together to form a larger organization or government. In 1901, New South Wales, Victoria, Tasmania, South Australia, Western Australia, and Queensland joined together to make the Commonwealth of Australia. There are 6 states and 2 mainland territories. Do you know the difference between a state and a territory? The main difference between a state and a territory is where they get their powers to make laws. Each state has their own constitution, which allows it to make laws. Remember, a constitution is a rule book for how a place is governed. So New South Wales, Victoria, Tasmania, South Australia, Western Australia, and Queensland all have their own state constitutions. The territories do not have their own constitutions. The Australian Parliament can override a territory law at any time. We also need to remember the difference between the words mainland and island. The mainland is the largest area of land in a place. So mainland Australia is where we now have the states of Western Australia, South Australia, Victoria, New South Wales, Queensland, the Australian Capital Territory, and the Northern Territory. An island is a smaller area of land surrounded by water. We have one island state in Australia, Tasmania. On the citizenship test, you might find a question such as, what is the smallest mainland state in Australia? We have to be careful here. We know that Tasmania is the smallest state in Australia, but the question is asking about the smallest state on the mainland of Australia. So that answer is Victoria. Tasmania is an island, so even though it is Australia's smallest state, it's not the correct answer to this question because it's not on Australia's mainland. Tricky. We have to read the test questions very carefully and make sure we understand all the words before answering the question. Canberra is Australia's capital city, and each state and mainland territory has its own capital. Let's say the key words together. States, territories, mainland, capital city. How many Australian states and territories can you name? Can you name the capital cities for each state? Let's start with Australia's territories. The Australian Capital Territory is a very small territory in eastern Australia. The Australian Capital Territory is located between Sydney and Melbourne. It is home to the nation's capital city, Canberra. Several national institutions are located in Canberra, including Parliament House and the High Court of Australia. The Northern Territory is in the central and northern region of Australia. The Northern Territory has a tropical environment in the north of the state and dry red desert in the south. Darwin is the capital city. Northern Territory icons include Uluru, Katajuta, and Kings Canyon. Queensland is a state in northeastern Australia. Queensland is the second largest state. Queensland's capital city is Brisbane. The Torres Strait Islands lie to the north of the state, and the world-famous Great Barrier Reef runs along its eastern coast. Queensland has tropical rainforests, temperate coastal areas, and an often dry inland. New South Wales is a state on the east coast of Australia. New South Wales was the first colony established by the British. Sydney is the capital city of New South Wales and is the nation's largest city. The Sydney Harbour Bridge and Opera House are national icons. Victoria is a state in southeastern Australia. Victoria is the smallest of the mainland states. Victoria's capital city is Melbourne. Many fine buildings in Victoria were built from the wealth created by the gold rush of the 1850s. Victoria's icons include the Melbourne Cricket Ground, the 12 Apostles, and the Royal Exhibition Building. Tasmania is an island state located southeast of mainland Australia. Tasmania is the smallest state, separated from the mainland by the Bass Strait. Tasmania's capital city is Hobart. Much of the island has unspoiled wilderness landscapes. Tasmanian icons include Cradle Mountain, Port Arthur, and the Bay of Fires. South Australia is a state in south-central Australia. South Australia has a rugged coastline and many famous wine regions. Adelaide, the capital city, has many examples of fine colonial architecture. South Australia's icons include the Barossa Valley and the Flinders Ranges. Western Australia is a very large state in Australia's west. Western Australia is the largest state. Perth is the capital city of Western Australia. The east of the state is mostly desert, while the southwest is a rich agricultural and wine-growing area. The state is home to many large mining projects. Western Australia's icons include the Ningaloo Coast, Margaret River, and the Kimberley region. Let's say the key words together. Sydney Harbour Bridge, the 12 Apostles, the Great Barrier Reef, Margaret River, the Flinders Ranges, Port Arthur. How many Australian states and territories can you name? Can you remember the capital cities? Take a minute to test yourself. Now, let's review. The capital of the Northern Territory is Darwin. The capital of Queensland is Brisbane. The capital of New South Wales is Sydney. The capital of the Australian Capital Territory is Canberra. The capital of Victoria is Melbourne. The capital of Tasmania is Hobart. The capital of South Australia is Adelaide. The capital of Western Australia is Perth. Some people find it helpful to use a phrase to help remember the names of the Australian states and capital cities. For example, to help remember the states and territories of Australia, we could use the phrase, "All new vocabulary takes some work, never quit." The first letter in each of the words in the sentence is the same as the first letter of the Australian states and territories. The A in all stands for Australian Capital Territory. The N in new stands for New South Wales. The V in vocabulary stands for Victoria. The T in takes stands for Tasmania. The S in some stands for South Australia. The W in work stands for Western Australia. The N in never stands for Northern Territory. And the Q in quit stands for Queensland. All new vocabulary takes some work, never quit. All new vocabulary takes some work, never quit. To help remember the capital cities, we could use the phrase, cats sit mostly happy and playful during breaks. Cats, Canberra. Sit, Sydney. Mostly, Melbourne. Happy, Hobart. And Adelaide. Playful, Perth. During, Darwin. Breaks, Brisbane. Cats sit mostly happy and playful during breaks. Let's have a look at a practice test question. Which Australian city is both a national and territory capital? A. Sydney. B. Melbourne. C. Canberra. If you guessed C. Canberra, you are correct. Sydney is the state capital of New South Wales. Melbourne is the state capital of Victoria. Canberra is the territory capital of the Australian Capital Territory and the national capital of Australia. That's it for today's episode. If you have any questions, please write them in the comments section. I'll do my best to help in any way I can. If you found this video helpful, please click on like and subscribe to help me grow this channel. This will also help you see when new episodes are ready to watch. Please enjoy this look at iconic sites from around Australia. See you in the next episode.